This story begins at the very edge of life and death, a wounded cowboy lying in the dust, breath-fatting bandits closing in fast, and a tiny Apache woman who had always been told she was too small, too weak, too unable to change anything. Yet in that single moment, she made a choice that would rewrite both their destinies. One whisper, one act of courage, and a story was born that the West would never forget. If you enjoy powerful tales like this, then at the end of the video be sure to subscribe, share this story, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Cole never expected his life to change the moment he fell from his horse and hit the dusty ground, bleeding and half-conscious, but destiny rarely announces itself before it strikes. The world around him spun, the sound of pounding hooves echoing through the canyon like rolling thunder. Bandits were closing in fast, their shouts growing louder, sharper, more desperate. He tried to stand, but his injured leg buckled, sending a jolt of pain through him. Dust strung his eyes as his breath grew uneven. He had outrun death many times, but this time it seemed determined to catch him. Through the haze of pain, he saw a shadow move swiftly in the brush. At first he thought it was another outlaw sneaking up to finish the job, but then he saw her small, quick, silent as a drifting leaf. Her dark hair flowed behind her like a whispered warning, and her eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the danger with the awareness of a seasoned scout. She didn't hesitate. She simply appeared beside him, hooked her tiny arm under his, and whispered, "Move." The single word carried a strength that defied her small frame. Cole didn't understand how she could move so quickly while supporting him, but she led him through a hidden path that twisted between boulders and narrow cracks in the canyon wall. Every step was agony, but he followed because she moved with complete certainty, like someone born from the land itself. Behind them, the bandits cursed and searched, but she guided him into a crevice so narrow he wouldn't have found it even if his life depended on it. They crouched in silence, her hand gripping his arm like an anchor. Minutes dragged like hours as the sound of searching footsteps grew closer, paused, then faded. Cole's breath hitched as relief spread through him. The tiny Apache woman didn't celebrate. She waited until the canyon was completely silent before finally exhaling softly. Her instincts were beyond anything he'd seen. When she finally turned to him, he saw her clearly for the first time, delicate features, small frame, but eyes filled with a strength that could challenge mountains. She pressed her hand against his bleeding shoulder, her touch gentle yet confident. He opened his mouth to speak, but she shook her head, signaling silence. She listened, making sure the danger was gone. Only when she was certain did she guide him deeper into the hidden ravine. The moon had begun rising, casting soft silver light across the stone walls. Cole winced with every step, yet she adjusted her pace with surprising patience, supporting him with her slender arm. She looked far too small to carry much weight, yet somehow she kept him steady. He couldn't understand it, but he was grateful beyond words. They reached a small, sheltered hollow beneath an overhanging rock, safe from the night wind. She knelt beside him and pulled herbs from a small pouch tied at her waist. Crushing them with smooth motions, she placed the mixture on his wound. The sting made him inhale sharply. She didn't apologize, but her eyes softened with sympathy. Without a word, she tore a strip of cloth from her own garment and wrapped it firmly around his shoulder. She moved with the calm precision of someone who had tended many wounds before, someone who understood pain without fearing it. As she worked, Cole studied her in the quiet glow of the moon. She looked young, fragile even, but there was nothing weak about her. Everything about her carried quiet resilience, the steady rhythm of her breathing, the careful way she tied the bandage, the way she kept her body angled toward the direction the bandits had gone, ready to react if danger returned. When she finally finished, she sat back on her heels and met his eyes with a look that said he was safe now. He wanted to thank her, but words felt too small for what she'd done. Hours passed in stillness, broken only by the whisper of wind through the rocks. Eventually, she took a small water skin from her side and handed it to him. Her gestures were minimal, her voice silent, yet everything about her radiated intention and meaning. Cole drank slowly, feeling strength returning to him in small waves. He had met many people in his travels, ranchers, miners, soldiers, outlaws, but none had ever moved with such quiet purpose. She was like a ghost of the desert, real yet unreal, soft yet unshakable. He didn't even know her name yet, but she had saved him. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than the night wind. "You rest, I watch." The simplicity of her words carried an unspoken trust that felt strange to him. People didn't usually trust strangers, and they certainly didn't risk their lives for them, yet she had done both without hesitation. Cole adjusted himself against the rock, wincing as the bandage pressed against his wound. He watched her settle at the entrance of the hollow, sitting cross-legged with perfect stillness, her eyes attuned to the darkness. He wondered how someone so small could hold such a commanding presence. The night deepened, and the silence wrapped around them like a blanket. Cole drifted in and out of sleep, but each time his eyes cracked open, she was still there, still alert, still ready. As dawn began to soften the sky with pale hues, she finally turned toward him and spoke again. "Colts heal fast. You strong, you follow me now." Though her words were few, he understood the meaning. She would take him somewhere safe. He nodded, trusting her more than he had trusted anyone in years, maybe ever. She rose gracefully, extending her small hand to help him stand. As they began their slow journey through the twisting ravine, Cole realized something that sent a strange warmth through him. This woman, this tiny Apache stranger who barely spoke, had become the only reason he was still alive. And though he didn't know her story yet, didn't know her fears or the quiet shadows hiding behind her eyes, he knew one thing for certain: he wanted to. Whatever path fate had placed them on, he wasn't ready for it to end. And as she led him toward the rising sun, he sensed that this was only the beginning. By midday, they emerged from the narrow canyon and stepped into a clearing where the land opened wide like a golden sea. Cole leaned against a boulder, catching his breath while she examined the path ahead. She still hadn't told him her name, but he no longer questioned her silence. Her presence alone spoke more than words ever could. She pointed toward a distant line of trees marking a river. "Her tribe is there," she murmured softly. "You safe now?" Cole felt a strange pull inside his chest, an unexpected urge to stay close to her even after reaching safety. They reached the Apache camp by sunset, where fires glowed like watchful eyes beneath the darkening sky. Warriors approached with caution, assessing the injured cowboy leaning heavily on their small tribe member. Cole expected suspicion, maybe hostility, but she spoke to them quickly in her language. The tension eased immediately. Her people trusted her judgment deeply. She guided him toward a shaded shelter where older women prepared herbs and bandages. They worked quietly, their hands skilled, their eyes curious. Cole noticed them glancing between him and the tiny woman who had rescued him. When his wounds were cleaned and dressed, she finally sat beside him for the first time since they had met. Her posture was straight, her expression calm, yet he sensed a subtle shift in her, a faint nervousness she hadn't shown during danger. He smiled gently. "I never asked your name." She hesitated before answering, her voice barely audible. "Loma." The name settled in his mind like a soft echo. It suited her, simple, delicate, yet carrying a quiet strength. He repeated it softly, and her eyes flickered with something like surprise, maybe even warmth. Over the next few days, Cole recovered slowly, but each day he found himself drawn to Loma more and more. She brought him food without being asked, guided him through the camp, and spoke to him in short, careful sentences. Cole learned that she spent most of her days gathering herbs, helping heal the wounded, and tending to children who adored her. Despite her small size, everyone respected her deeply. Yet when she walked among the other women, Cole noticed how she kept her gaze down, how she stepped aside quickly, as if trying not to be seen too much. One evening, while the camp prepared for the night, he found her alone by the river, weaving tiny beads into a leather strap. He sat beside her quietly, letting the sound of flowing water fill the silence. "Loma," he asked gently, "why do you always stay apart from them?" She hesitated, her fingers pausing on the beads. "I am small," she answered finally. "Too small, women strong. They give tribe children, I cannot." Her voice trembled at the last word. Cole felt a heaviness in his chest. He realized then that her quietness wasn't shyness. It was armor built over years of whispered judgments. He shifted closer, lowering his voice. "Loma, you saved my life. Your tribe respects you. You don't need to be like anyone else." Her expression tightened. "They respect my spirit, not my body. I cannot give a man future. No man choose me." Cole's heart clenched. He had seen strong men break under far less than the weight she carried in her small frame. He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she was worth more than she believed, but before he could speak, a group of warriors approached, reminding him that he would soon need to leave the camp. The next morning, his strength had returned enough that the tribe prepared his horse and supplies. Loma helped him pack, her hands delicate yet steady. He noticed she avoided meeting his eyes, as if already distancing herself to lessen the pain of his departure. When everything was ready, he turned toward her. "I should go," he said softly. She nodded, though her shoulders sagged just slightly. He mounted his horse but didn't move. Something inside him refused to let go. "Loma," he said, "come with me." Her head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. She took a step back, shaking her head. "No, I cannot. You want family, children. I am not that woman. I am small. I give nothing." Her voice cracked at the edges, the truth she believed tearing at her like thorns. Cole dismounted immediately, closing the distance between them. "Loma, look at me." She hesitated before lifting her gaze. He spoke with a calm certainty. "You think I care about what others expect? I want you, your courage, your kindness, your spirit. Children or not, you are enough, more than enough." Her breath hitched, her lips trembling as if fighting her own heart. She whispered, "I'm too small, Cowboy." He shook his head and gently pulled her into his arms, feeling her tiny frame melt against him. "To me, you're just right." For the first time, she let herself be held, her fingers clutching the fabric of his shirt as if afraid he would vanish. But he held her tightly, grounding her in a truth she had never allowed herself to believe, that she was wanted, not for what she couldn't give, but for everything she was. When he pulled back, her eyes shimmered with unspoken emotion. The tribe watched silently, understanding more than words could express. With their blessing, Loma mounted the horse behind Cole, her hands resting lightly at his waist. They rode away from the camp as the sky burned with morning colors, leaving the shadows of doubt behind. Their journey was slow but gentle, filled with shared moments that grew their connection. Cole taught her how to ride confidently. She taught him the meanings of her people's songs. At night, they sat beneath the stars, speaking softly of fears, hopes, and the strange path that had brought them together. In time, they built a small life in a quiet valley, a cabin shaped by Cole's strong hands and decorated with Loma's delicate craftwork. They never had children of their own, but their home became a place of refuge for many who passed by. Orphaned children found safety, wounded travelers found healing, and lonely hearts found comfort in Loma's gentle presence. She became known as the Little Mother of the Valley, not because of her size, but because her love reached everyone who stepped through their door. Cole often watched her, knowing he had found the rarest treasure of all. And sometimes, when dusk settled and the world grew still, Loma would rest her head on his shoulder and whisper, "I thought I had nothing to give." Cole always answered the same way, pressing a soft kiss to her hair. "You gave me everything." Their love became a quiet legend, the story of a tiny Apache woman who believed she was too small to be chosen, and the cowboy who showed her that love has nothing to do with size, strength, or expectations. It is measured only by the heart, and hers was larger than the open sky.